Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel in the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, COMELEC looking into campaign donations of some senators in 2022 as they may have links to contractors of flood control projects. As more inconsistencies surface, former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Babes Singson confirms being offered to lead the agency again, but he declines.
Definitely, there were feelers, but my answer is no because my priority is my family and their safety.
And the unlinking of e-wallets from online gambling platforms halves transaction volumes, but pushes many users to riskier, unregulated sites. We speak with Ronald Gustilo, national campaigner of digital advocacy group Digital Pinoys. The Commission on Elections is now reviewing campaign contributions to candidates during the 2022 elections to determine whether contractors donated to campaign funds. COMELEC Chairman George Garcia said it will take the poll body up to 3 weeks to release its findings. COMELEC is assessing the statements of contributions and expenditures of 2022 candidates without naming names. Garcia said some candidates are already on their radar.
Mga tatlo pa po ng mga candidates for national office ang nakikita natin. Meron po sa amin nag-tip sa Bulacan. So sabi, tingnan namin, incidentally, yun yung maging mainit na issue ngayon doon sa bandang area na Bulacan.
Chairman, linawin ko lang sinabi nyo you are looking at 3 national candidates. Senador yun Wala namang ibang national candidate. 3 more apart from 1. Bali, 4 na senador. 4 senators. Linked to contractors' contributions.
Section 95C of the Omnibus Election Code prohibits government contractors, whether natural or juridical persons, to directly or indirectly contribute to partisan political activity. The culpability, however, lies only among contractors. Garcia said it is up to COMELEC's determination whether politicians receiving the donations can also be held liable. COMELEC's review comes after it was revealed that Senate President Cheese Escudero received 15 million pesos in 2022 from his friend Lawrence Lubiano. Lubiano is president of Centerways Construction and Development, Inc., one of the 15 contractors that cornered 20% of all flood control deals. Senator Panfilo Lacson questions Oriental Mindoro Representative Arnan Panaligan showcasing flood control projects and then disowning them. While Lacson did not mention Panaligan outright during his privileged speech Wednesday, the senator's presentation showed the representative's name taking credit for flood control projects in his province that were supposedly funded using budget insertions. Panaligan has denied he was the proponent of these projects and insisted that their funding were already included in the proposed budget. A Philippine Star analysis of the 2023 National Expenditure Program and General Appropriations Act showed dozens of flood control projects in Oriental Mindoro received billions through congressional insertions. DPWH only proposed 605.5 million pesos for 8 flood control projects in the province, but the figure ended up at 1.419 billion for 19 deals. Among the inserted projects include 2 road dikes along Dulangan River in the municipality of Naujan, located in Panaligan's district. Lacson urged congressmen to keep an eye on projects in their districts, whether they are the proponent or not. He said they have to make sure these items are not substandard or mere figments of imagination. Former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson has no plans of returning to the agency he helmed for 6 years. As rumors mount, he is being considered to replace Secretary Manuel Bonoan. Singson confirmed there have been feelers asking him to take charge of the agency he headed from 2010 to 2016, but he has already made a decision.
Yes, I have said I cannot, my priority is my family's safety. So I said I cannot take that on because also I'm pushing 77. That totally different situation today as compared to more than 15 years ago.
The former DPWH chief expressed more interest in heading a third-party probe to investigate anomalous flood control projects. Meanwhile, DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan has rested his faith to the man who appointed him to the job.
Well, I leave it to the president po nito. I am at the pleasure of my tenure is at the pleasure of the president.
TikTok is temporarily halting advertisements on real money gambling on its platform starting today, August 22nd. The move was confirmed Wednesday following an announcement from DICT Secretary Henry Aguda. He called it a big step toward ensuring a safer digital environment for Filipinos. For its part, TikTok reiterated its commitment to work with authorities, noting that gambling ads in the Philippines are only allowed under strict conditions. The temporary pause comes as the government intensifies its oversight of online gambling. Last week, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas ordered e-wallets and banks to remove in-app links to gambling sites. The DICT also warned messaging and shopping platforms against promoting online gambling services. PAGCO reports the impact is already being felt, with online gaming transactions declining by about 50% between August 17 and 19, just days after digital payment platforms complied with the BSP directive. In a House briefing on Wednesday, PAGCOR Chair Alejandro Tenco said the regulator has been meeting with the central bank as it drafts stricter guidelines for digital payment platforms. Digital Advocates Digital Pinoy says the group is supportive of the Bangko Central's directive removing online gambling links in e-wallet platforms. Still, the group cites the need for a more holistic approach in curbing illegal online gambling. With us now for more is Ronald Gustilo, National Campaigner for Digital Pinoys. Good to have you on, Ronnie. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Miss Cathy, and good morning to our viewers as well.
All right, so it's been 5 days since e-wallets unlinked from online gambling platforms. What difference did the public see and feel in this time?
Well, for most that we're hearing is that the public feels that delinking the wallets is just like a band-aid solution for it's stopgap measure for for curbing online gambling, no. So they feel that the what BSP should do is to completely remove online payment portals from the online gambling websites itself. So some people feel that it's not enough, but we think this is better for now, and this highlights the need for a more holistic approach when it comes to regulating online gambling in our country.
You say that it's better for now, Ronald, but what sort of anecdotes can we go by to say that this is indeed working, at least for now?
Well, we have seen a very sharp drop in online gambling activities, at least for the legal ones, no. But Pagcor was mentioning that they have observed a rise in patronage in illegal online gambling, no. So what we think now is that the government should step up its campaign against illegal online gambling operators, because as far as we know, these legitimate the legitimate and legal operators have been compliant with our existing rules. But then again, there is room for improvement when it comes to regulating their industry.
Yeah, in fact, PAGCOR says in a span of just 3 days, gambling transactions have dropped by 50% since the Bangko Sentral ordered the unlinking of the e-wallets. So what do you think happened to the other 50%? Is it all because of them moving to the illegal online sites? What are you getting anecdotally?
Well, the observed number was that it was, I think it was 40, there was a noted 40% rise. patronage for illegal online gambling. No? So we think they could have been led to illegal online gambling sites because when you do a Google search or even on social media, when you look for gambling platforms, at least the first 20 results would be illegal online gambling platforms. So it's a it's a problem that should be immediately addressed by the government. And as far as we know, we have been in discussion with DICT Secretary Henry Aguda, and he presented to us what they are currently doing to curb the proliferation of illegal online gambling. And of course, Digital Pinoy is a very proud part of this campaign because we have an ongoing partnership with the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center. So what we're doing right now is, for our part, for Digital Pinoys, we we call out and then we also help take down these illegal gambling sites and the endorsers of these sites.
But what else can be done in the immediate, not to wait for the next hearing in online gambling? What can be done collectively in order to prevent users from going to the illegal gambling sites? Because this is where the underage are actually encouraged to gamble.
You're right, Miss Cathy. The young people, those who are not yet allowed to gamble on legitimate gambling sites, are the ones patronizing the illegal platform. So what we're doing right now, the government and the private sector has this partnership wherein we report the illegal online gambling sites, and the government initiates the blocking of the websites. So from our end, we report to the ICT and the CICC, and they will in turn submit this list, the list of platforms that we have submitted, as well as their the list coming from their own investigation to the National Telecommunications Commission. Now, the NTC ordered the telecom operators to take down this website. So, as for now, this is what we are doing. But in the coming weeks, we are looking at doing something big. So, we have a few volunteers who are working on a system right now where we will be able to detect illegal online gambling sites much faster than we can do right now.
All right, well, we'll be waiting for that. But in the meantime, what would you advise those who probably want to gamble on the illegal and the legal gambling sites at this point?
For those who are gambling in illegal online gambling sites, it's not advisable that you continue your patronage of those sites because for now maybe you are winning, but later on you will not win anymore. And in fact, we have incidents where some winners who won big, who won a very large amount of money, were not able to withdraw their winnings because the platform wouldn't give it to them. And they can do that because they are not regulated by the government. When you complain to the government cannot actually do anything to compel the operator to release your winnings because it's illegal. What the government can do is shut it down, no? Shut down their website, but you will not be able to get your winnings. So essentially, you've also lost, diba? So do not go to illegal gambling sites anymore. And for the legal ones, we strongly suggest that you first you stop using social media for endorsements because the advertisement of gambling, whether legal or illegal, on social media is very harmful, especially since most of the young people are on social media now. So we think that advertisements on social media platforms, especially from gambling sites, should be prohibited. And also, we are currently in discussion with the government as to how to uh, impose a stricter regulatory mechanism to our to the online gambling industry, such as we are looking at a stricter know your client protocol. We're also looking at increasing the age limit and the minimum betting amount, no? So, and also we are also
Okay.
looking at we are urging the platforms. I know these reforms can be done through an order from the PAGCOR, but we are hoping now while we are waiting for these orders, they can proactively do it, no? So they can impose like a cool down mechanism for persons who are losing too much, and other reforms that will help the losers from losing more money.
All right. Well, we'll continue to monitor this space. Thank you so much for your insights, Ronald Gustilo of Digital Pinoys. Villar Land Holdings Corp pointed to its external auditor for the delayed disclosure of its financial reports, costing the firm 12 million pesos in fines. In a statement, Villar Land maintained its external auditor, Punong Bayan and Araulio, did not refuse to sign its 2024 audited financial statements. Instead, the auditor had varying requests for additional audit procedures to review the valuation of Villar Land's newly acquired properties. Villar Land, quote, reluctantly agreed to record over 366 hectares of land in Villar City with a use of cost basis. As a result, the land is now priced at just 8.6 billion pesos from the proposed 1.33 trillion. The SEC fined Villar Land and 11 of its officials, including former Senate President Manny Villar and his children, Senators Mark and Camille Villar, 1 million pesos each for the delayed filing and potential misleading disclosures. The regulatory body also issued a 10-day show cause order to explain why the firm's license should not be revoked. At the heart of the controversy is whether Villar Land engaged in insider trading over its 1 trillion peso fair value gains that saw its profit rise from only 1.46 billion in 2023 to 999 billion in 2024. And you're watching Money Talks. Coming right up, the country's GDP growth is seen to reach 6% in the second half of the year. And a peek into the current asset allocation strategy of BDO Trust and Investment Corp with SVP and Chief Investment Officer Fritz Ocampo. When we return, keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. The Budget Department says state spending on infrastructure bounced back in June as disbursements for public work projects resumed after the election ban was lifted in early May. The latest disbursement report from the DBM showed expenditure on infrastructure and other capital outlays rose by 6.5% to nearly 149 billion pesos in June, up from 139 billion pesos in the same month last year. Month on month, it increased by over 20% from 124 billion pesos. This came after the month of May saw an annual decline of 9.2%. The DBM said this was largely attributed to the DPWH's improved spending performance following a 2-month decline in April and May amid the election ban. Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman says the economy is expected to pick up in the second half of the year, driven in part by the resumption of public expenditures. Pangandaman told reporters the GDP growth could reach 6%, noting the forecast depends on how quickly public projects move forward after the 45-day election ban. In the second quarter, GDP grew by 5.5%, slightly higher than the 5.4% in the first quarter, but still below the 6.5% a year ago. Overall, GDP for the first half of 2025 averaged 5.4%. Economy Secretary Arsenio Balisacan earlier stressed the GDP must grow by 5.6% for the rest of the year to hit the low end of the government's full-year target of 5.5% to 6.5%. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has welcomed the affirmation of the Philippines' A- investment grade rating with a stable outlook from Japanese credit watcher RNI. Rating and Investment Information Inc. noted the Philippine economy grew 5.7% in 2024, one of the fastest in Southeast Asia. It also cited the country's inflation rate falling to a 6-year low of 0.9% in July 2025. The agencies also pointed to manageable debt levels, healthy reserves, steady remittances, and a stable banking sector as key drivers. Bangko Sentral Governor Eli Remolona credited evidence-based monetary policy for keeping inflation low and for strengthening banks through sound capitalization and risk management. The RNI decision has echoed positive assessments of other credit rating agencies. And taking a look at the markets, U.S. markets have tumbled yesterday, Thursday, on the back of weaker retail earnings. S&P 500 slipped for the fifth straight session, the first time it occurred since January. As for the Dow and the Nasdaq, they're both down by 0.33% each. U.S. 10-year Treasury yields ticked up to 4.329%, and gold prices declined to $3,336 per troy ounce. U.S. futures pointing to a mixed open later tonight, Manila time. The Dow and S&P are up less than 0.1% each, and the Nasdaq slides by less than 0.1%. Asian markets look like a mixed bag this Friday. South Korea's Kospi up by 1%, and looking at Japan's Nikkei 225, it's climbing by less than 0.1%, and Australia's ASX 200 down by 0.1%. Let's take a look at our own markets, resuming trade from national holiday of Thursday. PSEI opening today at 6,309, up about 31 points or 0.5% at the get-go. Investors are awaiting the Federal Reserve's annual Jackson Hole Symposium as they look for signs in Chair Jerome Powell's speech of a possible rate cut next month. As for the Philippine peso, opens today weaker, 57.15 to the dollar. And with more than 8 months in, let's take a look at how our own capital markets are faring. As U.S. stocks hover near record highs following a volatile start to the year, Philippine equities are down 3.3% year-to-date. Despite the subdued overall index, sectors that did well include gold miners, e-gaming, REITs, and select dividend-heavy stocks. And as the U.S. bond market saw improved, though still moderate returns, the Philippine bond market displayed the fastest growth in emerging East Asia. With us now for more is Fritz Ocampo, the Senior Vice President and Chief Investment Officer for BDO Trust and Investment Corporation. Good to see you, Fritz, and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Cathy.
Yeah, so it's amazing that you pretty much kept your asset allocation unchanged for the rest of this year, at least year to date, amid all the uncertainty that we've faced globally. We've seen Middle East tensions and also the Trump tariff uncertainty. And locally, it's the economy, slowing growth and inflation, or the lack thereof.
Right.
So why didn't you make any move and any change into your asset allocation plan?
Well, the reason for that is we already studied the implications of Trump 2.0 and the ensuing trade war, even in the second half of last year. And our conclusion is that the Philippine market, is not a major exporter to the world, much more to the U.S. economy. And therefore, the market would definitely react to it, and it did after the April Liberation Day announcement. But if you will look at the markets, since that double-digit correction in April, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq has already rallied by close to 28%. To post a positive return again year to date of about 8.7%. And so that shows you that sometimes it's better not to do anything rather than to panic. You
Others
know?
would consider that bravery or courage. Let's take a look at your asset allocation, because you just mentioned about the rally in global stocks, right?
Right.
And also that we're not really so affected by the tariffs, that
Right.
presumably you would have upped your Philippine stock exposure, but that's like 10%. That's twice less than global stocks.
Right.
How
Over the
come?
last 7 years, we have slowly reduced our local equity exposure. Back then, it was 30%. And in gradually reducing it, we shifted to global equities. Not necessarily everything in the tech space, but just in global equities in general. And the reason for that was our bearish outlook on the peso, which actually fell by more than 13% over a 5-year period and close to 24% over a 10-year period. So that bolstered our view that we have to diversify away from the peso. And then when given a choice between global fixed income or global equities, we felt that global equities had a higher upside.
But then when we talk about the bond universe, it's 65%. That's a whole lot more than global and Philippine stocks combined.
Right.
How come? In the context of maybe the interest rate differential.
Right.
Now that we're going to hear from Fed Powell at Jackson Hole, and also from the governor himself on August 28th.
Right. The reason for our hefty allocation in the bond space is because our clients in general are looking for consistent, stable returns. So most of our clients would be, retirees, or we manage pension funds. And definitely the liabilities are still in peso because we're based here in the Philippines. But they want, higher returns compared to the money market or a time deposit rate. So that's why we have a heavy allocation in bonds. And during this 2022 to 2024 period in particular, we saw the surge of inflation. And whenever inflation surges, interest rates surge as well. And that's what we saw. And we felt that that was the opportunity to begin to lock in rates for both our pension funds, insurance clients, or even our retail clients. And given now the prospect of further interest rate cuts from the BSP as early as next week, that positioning will definitely help as we end the year, 2025, and as we position for 2026.
Just as a final question, cash. We got to talk about cash. What's with the 5%?
Okay.
It's like you're
Why have 5%?
sort of
Right.
hedging.
So there are several reasons for holding a 3 to 5% in cash. One is liquidity. Okay, you'll never know when our clients would need some cash to withdraw, to redeem. That's first. Second is it's our dry powder. Just in case we see blips, because of some unfortunate data release, either in the US or the Philippines. Usually the market blips up. And then we can deploy at higher levels.
And the flood control projects and the anomalies, they don't have much of a concern that would change any of your asset allocation?
Not really. Even when you ask the question, okay, do these flood projects affect GDP forecasts for the rest of the year, for the second half of the year? Our answer is no, okay? Simply because corruption has always been part of the environment, unfortunately, okay? The bad news there is that, we're wasting our scarce resources for projects that could have been better funded, okay? But in terms of, as a fund manager or as a CIO, it doesn't change the scenario that has been built all the way to the end of 2025 and on to 2026.
All right, it's good to keep that in perspective. Steady Eddie. Asset allocation, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cathy.
Fritz Ocampo of VDO Trust and Investment Corporation. And that is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. here on One News. We're also streamed live on YouTube and on our Facebook channels. Have a great day and a great weekend ahead.